Okay, let's carry on to look at the historical context of the two films and see if we can draw some conclusions on similarities between them. We talked about the fact that the 1960s was a time of social, political change with global activism. We saw the civil rights movement, second wave feminism, and many anti-war protests during this period. In the 2010s then, we were also at a time of social, political uncertainty. We had huge changes in America with the election of President Trump. In the UK, the Brexit vote and the success of the Vote Leave campaign. We have crises of many people fleeing war-torn countries such as Syria and seeking refuge in countries such as the UK. We see the Syrian boat refugees actually around the world, but seeking shelter in many European countries. There are also campaigns around racism and inequality, particularly in the film industry. We see with the Oscars So White campaign. We also see across America the Ferguson race riots across a period of 2014 to 16. So some really significant historical moments do occur during both eras. What does that mean, though, for Disney and the production of their films? Well, both periods include significant political events. They both include times where we're seeing campaigns and movements focusing on equality, diversity, and racism. However, Disney does largely ignore these contexts within the productions of their film, for both the Jungle Book animation and its remake. Now, there are some reasons for this. Firstly, the production of the 1960s film, we know Walt Disney himself was heavily involved, and his political stance is that of a right-wing Republican. There are, however, some controversial issues around representations of race in the 1960s Jungle Book film. What we need to understand then is that Disney has an unchanging primary target audience of children, young children and families. So it may be understandable to a degree that some of the historical political campaigns are not appropriate or are mentioned within their filmmaking. So it might appear that Disney is really ignoring these changing cultural discourse. However, I think that the fact that it remains a highly popular institution during both periods and throughout times of change and uncertainty is perhaps quite a clever marketing strategy. The fact that their primary audience is unchanging, that their values of the brand as a brand are unchanging, that their audiences and their fandoms are ever expanding, means that it is quite a secure and profitable business strategy to remake popular landmark films at times of global change and uncertainty. Okay, let's look at the economic context then for both of the films, and what conclusions can we draw about similarities? Well, both films indicate to us that Disney is a highly specialist institution in terms of filmmaking, whether that is specialist in animation, and absolutely top of their game, or whether that is in the use of new modern animation techniques such as computer-generated imagery. We know that Disney understand their target audience, that they're able to market appropriately and to be successful even at times of economic downturn. We see this when we're looking at the modern context. We need to think about it still as a period of economic recession. In the 60s, we know this was a time of downturn in cinema audiences, leading to the closure of many cinemas. So, in terms of the economic context, both films proved to be highly successful at times of economic uncertainty, as well as civil and political unrest. Okay, so I think we've covered everything that we can here for a moment, looking at comparing the two texts across the film chain and across their economic and historical contexts. However, it doesn't quite end there, because my tip really is that when we're talking about evolving media, which we are, that is the title of the exam paper, we need to be able to say what has changed. We need to be able to draw some conclusions, form opinions, and go a little bit further than just parroting back and repeating back facts. What we want to be able to do is go beyond just saying, okay, in the 1960s, Disney used animation techniques such as cell animation and the multiplane camera. Whereas in 2016, they used more modern technology such as computer-generated graphics, generated imagery, and photorealistic rendering. We don't want to just make those 2 points. We want to go a little bit further and talk about the industry as a whole. And OCR pushes this a lot. They talk about the macro, the wider, bigger picture of industry, and then the micro, the smaller individual things that were happening in the production and making of those films. So let's talk about the macro for a moment, and let's look at overall what can we see has happened at each stage of the film chain. So in terms of production, I think the biggest thing that we can talk about is technological change. We know the film industry has advanced in terms of technology, so let's recognise what has happened as a result of this. And I think there's some key points here. Again, I'm taking them straight from the Knowledge Organiser, so you can always use that for your reference to go back and revise. So technological change has improved the speed, the efficiency and the cost at which films can be made. Now, let's just stop there for a moment, because I talk about the cost, and I mean the cost in a modern context. If we compare the two movies, the cost of the 2016 version we know is so much higher. It's hundreds of millions of pounds to make. However, that in itself is testament to Disney as a huge brand with a huge amount of capital and buying power behind them. But over time, the use of technology and the advancement of tech is going to reduce the cost of producing such high quality films. Okay, technological change has also allowed Disney to continually evolve its filmmaking style. And that is true. If we look at Disney from its outset in the 1920s, how it starts out with those very early animations and Mickey Mouse, for example, right the way through to seeing it evolve from those classic animations of Snow White, Cinderella, Robin Hood, all of those, right the way through to then seeing the conception of Pixar and that use of CGI. We see lots of advancement in terms of their live action films, such as Pirates of the Caribbean, and then their remake strategy that comes from that. And we're just seeing that it's really evolving and changing the expertise it has in its style of filmmaking. We know that technology has been at the forefront of the success of the live remake strategy, actually being able to bring those animal characters to life, to make them look like they are really talking and behaving in a very realistic-like way. And we know that technological change, therefore, has led to higher levels of verisimilitude, of that real-world accuracy that we're starting to see, bizarrely, in fantasy films. Okay, In terms of distribution then, we need to think about Disney as a global conglomerate and the sheer size and scale of this as a company. So Disney's success as a global conglomerate has enabled many things to happen. It's enabled control over all stages of the filmmaking through vertical but also horizontal integration, buying out the competition. It has enabled films to be distributed to much, much wider audiences than ever before. It's allowed Disney to really exploit its strategy of using the Disney Vault to increase demand for the product. And it has enabled their films to have a very profitable value chain that increases over time. Okay, in terms of marketing then, I think the macro, the big thing again, here is technological change. This has evolved traditional marketing. We know it's still important, but it's evolved traditional marketing to target audiences in the digital age. It's allowed for immersive forms of marketing to take place, that 360-degree marketing strategies to be used. It's enabled brand synergy and convergence so that you're able to see their marketing on every different platform, on every different device. Technological change has then encouraged brands to find new, more innovative ways of marketing. So as I talked to you before about that Jungle Book website where you were immersed into the world of the jungle and invited in to explore the setting of the film. And there are ways to create more hype for the product, to get your audiences actively engaged and interested in. And also to target much more specific audiences. Okay, those niche audiences that we see Disney marketing to for the 2016 film, as well as mass audiences that they have always catered to. And in terms of exhibition, we're back to looking at the Disney as a global conglomerate again and the significance of that. What does it allow? Well, it allows exhibition of films in cinemas on a global scale, unlike smaller film production companies or independent movie making. Disney's success as a conglomerate then allows them to re-release films in all different territories multiple times. It allows them to screen films in different, more costly formats, such as in 3D or in IMAX. And it enables them to be able to stream their own films. So, if we compare this, for example, to another production of The Jungle Book, Andy Serkis's version called Mowgli, that actually was being produced around the same time as this. Once that had been made, I'm pretty sure it's a Warner film, once it had been made, it was then given to Netflix to stream on their site. It was never released in cinemas at all. In fact, that is a marketing strategy of its own. But the point here is that unlike that, Disney are able to stream their own films. They are able to go, right, we'll take this straight from here and we'll put it onto Disney Plus. And this has given us much more brand power. It's given us much more content that we can give out to our audiences, and it further fuels this dominance that they have within the industry. Okay, I'll finish here. This resource, as I've said, is available on Show My Homework. Please make use of it or create yourself a similar looking resource. It's brilliant for revision. As I said, it's also very good for recall, so not copying everything straight from PowerPoint or from the video, but actually using yourself using memory techniques to recall things first, plan out as much as you can, and then check against the knowledge organizer, and then go back and do the same again, cover it and fill in any gaps. Okay, I'm looking forward to our last lesson where we'll be looking at exam responses and breaking down exam type questions. If you have any questions at all, as always, please drop me an email and get in contact. Thank you.